All right, Mike Evans, can you hear us?
I can.
Fabulous, and welcome, welcome, welcome. I want you to know that I ignored my family yesterday to page back through your book because I wanted to write down a few questions that I had the first time I read it. This is fabulous. Jimmy Carter, the Liberal Left, and World Chaos. Why did you write this book?
Well, I just finished the book. I finished the book just before the inauguration, obviously. It's just in the last 90 days I finished it.
Why did you write it?
Why did I write it? Because of the dilemma we're faced with. We have a Carter presidency that screwed up the Middle East beyond anybody's comprehension, and they still don't know what he did. And we have another presidency that's coming in that has the same worldview, same ideological left worldview.
I want to read to everybody the way you open your book. Actually, this is a few pages in. But you say, the presidential election was a public sounding board for the much-touted failures of the Republican Party. He ran against a disgraced president and his policies. He ran in the aftermath of an unpopular war on a platform of human rights, and he won. His theme was change. And it was not Obama. It was Jimmy Carter. That is the beginning of where you start to make comparisons. How do you see these men being so similar?
Well, the first way they're similar is that Carter did not believe in preemption. Carter's ideological worldview was, he had called it human rights, but in essence he was embracing he was castigating the victims and embracing the perpetrators of the crimes. He took the idea we do need to talk to people, and he redefined everything. Example, the Shah of Iran. He was an eight-president ally of our country, and Carter completely destroyed him in favor of a holy cleric who he thought would be a Gandhi-like figure, Khomeini, who birthed radical Islam.
Shaking her head.
No, I think it's totally true.
It's true. You're shaking and in agreement,
well,
I guess.
Can I ask him? I don't
Sure,
know.
go right ahead. Mike Evans, go ahead.
I was making a comparison yesterday between this administration and the Carter administration in terms of style. And what made me think about this was Obama has created 6 new offices in the White House to deal with different issues. He has now 3 different policy groups of economists. He has so much information gathering going on and so much outreach to experts all over the place. He sounds like Jimmy Carter, who sat at his desk, which was piled high, as I recall from friends who worked there, with information and never could make a decision because he never felt he had enough. I mean, it really is an interesting comparison, I think. Do you think there's some truth in that?
Well, it really is. Listen, I was advising Menachem Begin during that time when Carter hated Begin. And by the way, I asked Menachem Begin to give a position to a young, depressed man whose brother was shot in the back, Benjamin Netanyahu, and he gave him his position. And of course, Benjamin, I believe, today will become the prime minister for the second time. But Carter was so disengaged. He was so disengaged and so obsessed. He used to tell the CIA, let's deal with one problem at a time. And they were saying, Iran is going to fall. Khomeini's going to have a revolution. Let's deal with one problem at a time. Sorry, Mr. President, we have a big world out here. You can't deal with one problem at a time.
Wanting to get so deep into the minutiae of every issue.
In fact, and you've been speaking to financial columnist Liz Peek, and in fact, Mike, you write in your book that Jimmy Carter would go over bills previous to his being president, but he would go over bills as governor, saying not even the issue of the bills, but he took issue with the punctuation. He was so fastidious and detail-oriented.
Oh, dear.
You couldn't even use the tennis court at the White House without Jimmy Carter approving it. This guy micromanaged everything, but the dilemma that most people don't understand about Jimmy Carter, they say, what happened with 911? Why did we get into this mess? But what they don't understand, this man believed, he actually believed in these radical organizations as he does today, and he was funding Khomeini out of Paris through the CIA. He was supporting this operation through a man called Yazdi. He was getting him into power, working with the president of France, working with the German chancellor and the British. He was organizing orchestrating a revolution that he thought was going to transform the world in Iran. It did. It did indeed.